And you're fourth in the East as it currently sits right now. But if you had the choice, Orlando Magic fans, would you have rather seen this team healthy all year to see how they stack up against the elite in the East? Or do you want to see this team get healthy when it matters most? Once we get to the playoffs, post All-Star break, when the seeding really does matter and you have to avoid the play-in and matchups are now all of a sudden the most important thing. Can we get into this seed where we face this team? It gives us a better chance to go to the second round, hell, even the Eastern Conference Finals. When it comes to this team, they are the pure definition of next man up, right? Key player is out. Stars are out. It's been the next man up. And we saw Orlando do this again last night in a win over the Toronto Raptors, 106-97 your final. But I do have to give this to the Orlando Magic, and I've been a guy who has said I am not worried about the Magic when they lost Paolo Banchero and also when they lost Franz Wagner. But in games where they've probably had no business being in, without a Paolo and without a Franz, that Boston game where they make the comeback, that Miami game where they made the comeback, you were down by as many as, 20 to Brooklyn? I think you're down by as many as 15 with about 5 minutes to go. And you make that comeback, and when everybody's turning off their televisions, you're giving those who kept the TV on and those who stayed in the arena a great performance. We've seen Jalen Suggs as a number one option. We've seen Franz Wagner as a number one option. Both of them have fit that role perfectly. Not saying that you can win an NBA championship with those guys being the number one option, but you're able to see that there really isn't that much of a drop-off with this Orlando Magic team when you have a guy like Paolo Banchero being out, at least for the here and now. And that speaks a lot to the culture of what Jamal Mosley is building, right? Last night, Jalen Suggs goes out with an injury, though. Jamal Mosley saying possible back spasms, but Suggs was in a lot of pain. I think they said they had to take him off the floor in a wheelchair. Seems to me now the Orlando Magic are leaking oil. It is now time for you to get Paolo Banchero back. Before we talk about Paolo Banchero, however, I do want to give credit to the Orlando Magic as currently constructed without their two franchise cornerstones in the win against the Toronto Raptors. Here's Coach Mosley speaking on the team overcoming injuries and winning ball games.
For one, it says a lot about, Jeff Weltman and the guys, the type of young men that he brings in, the high character, competitive, tough guys. That's one. Then two, our coaching staff does a tremendous job of keeping these guys prepared for whatever the moment is. No matter who we throw on the floor, we also talk about how we're going to play. We're going to defend a certain style. We're going to move and share the basketball. Whether shots go in or not, you cannot control it. But then you're going to continue to fight for your brothers in that locker room. And that's what these guys continue to do.
Now, I have to tell you, as an NBA fan, as a growing Orlando Magic fan, I'm excited about Paolo Banchero making a comeback, especially before the clock strikes 12, which it seems to be around 11:55. Because Orlando's needs him. And there seems to be excitement within the roster as well, not just fans. Here's Wendell Carter Jr. on Paolo ramping things up to get back on the floor.
From the moment he went down, I know he's been, eager, thirsty to get back on that court. So, with him being a competitor, the kind of guy he is, it's exciting to see him finally, moving a lot more. And then, I'm really looking forward to when he's back out there on the court helping us win games.
So this season, the Orlando Magic have an 18-13 record without Paolo Banchero this season. You're 5-6 without Franz. You're averaging about 104 points a contest. You're still a top 10 team defensively, fourth in the conference. And as I said last time, a lot of us probably closed the door. Now, not me. I've said ad nauseum, I wasn't worried. But I'm sure many of you that are out there probably close the door on the chances that Orlando stays a top 5 seed. They probably drop all the way down to 7, 8, 9, 10. This is going to be a team that has to make the playoffs through the play-in. But you're ready for Paolo to come back, right? It's the franchise guy. The player that can assist Jalen Suggs. If Jalen Suggs isn't out for a prolonged period of time, he can help with the playmaking. He can help with the shot creating. In clutch situations, we have our guy. We can give Paolo the ball. And once Franz gets back, and those two play the way that they were before the basketball gods snap their obliques in half, watch your head, NBA, because here comes the Orlando Magic. But I'll ask again, would you have wanted to see what this team looked like completely healthy from day one till now? Or do you believe this is the right time? Do you believe that this is a much stronger bunch than what we had the first couple of weeks in the regular season? I'll say this. If this team were fully healthy, I think they're a 3 seed in the East. Maybe a 4, because as of right now, the New York Knicks are playing something spectacular. We did not expect what we saw or have been seeing from the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the Boston Celtics are the defending champions. Now, unfortunately, I would believe that there are some that would say we would have loved to have seen them now because Paolo and Franz were playing like all-stars. They'd probably be voted in to be Eastern Conference starters, or at least both would be getting in to represent the Eastern Conference in the All-Star game in San Francisco. We'll get into late January. We'll get into February. We'll see what happens at the deadline. But as I said, this is now going to be time for the playoff push, right? And teams need to get the best seeding available. And with this squad, I do not believe continuity's been an issue. Franz has been on the bench. He's cheering on his teammates. Paolo's been called a second coach by Jamal Mosley. The team has rallied behind Cole Anthony during post-game interviews. I think you've given confidence to guys such as Goga Batadze, Cole Anthony, Tristan Da Silva, Anthony Black. The guys that you need to have the confidence to go into the playoff round and contribute in a big way. Would they be able to do that if Paolo and Franz were on the floor? We can't really know, right? Because they haven't been on the floor in quite some time. Paolo will be back, Jamal Mosley says, sometime in mid-January. Read an article, there are people who believe that maybe you see Franz back February, maybe before All-Star, maybe post-All-Star. For this team to be able to win games the way in which they are, without your franchise cornerstones, I think pays dividends now and in the long run. And for those Orlando Magic fans who did believe that this could be a team that could possibly make the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm not pulling my chips back and saying that possibility is completely gone. Now, granted, those 3 teams that I named in Cleveland, Boston, and New York, you probably will have to beat 2 out of those 3 teams in order to go to the NBA Finals. I do believe you're just going to have to beat 1, hopefully, to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think this helps Orlando more than they think. Especially if not now, let's just even talk about next season. And Orlando still has a couple of holes. They got to figure out that three-point shooting. I don't know if you're going to trade for a guy to come get a guy. Do you go out and see what the asking price is for a Cam Johnson, a 3-and-D guy? I love Tristan Da Silva. I believe that the minutes he's gotten in the absence of Paolo and Franz has paid absolute dividends for them. that 3-point shooting, man, that's what killed him last year, right? You got to figure this out, and you got to figure this out immediately. This isn't like the Los Angeles Lakers where they wanted to wait 30 games, see how the team looked, and now you want to make moves before the deadline. Unfortunately, the deadline's going to come and go before we know it. But it is good to have Paolo now before it gets too late. Especially if you want to make a deep playoff run. And with Franz coming back as well at some point in the regular season, I think this keeps you as a top 5 seed. So before we get to our first break and welcome in Kyle Nash, Casey is on the line, wants to talk about the Orlando Magic. Casey, what you got?
What's up, my boy?
What's going on, Casey?
Not much, brother. Hey, look here. So the other day, me and my friend were at a thread. Sam Emmett, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, of The Athletic, was saying maybe De'Aaron Fox. And that would be huge from the Sacramento Kings if he came over to Orlando. I mean, you look, Jalen Suggs, he's had 2 injuries this season. Man, let me tell you what, I'd be given a king's ransom to get De'Aaron Fox. So, yeah, your thoughts. I'll take it off the air, brother.
I heard the De'Aaron Fox talk too. I heard that. I don't know. It would be nasty. Jalen Suggs, Paolo, Franz, and De'Aaron Fox, but I don't know if a guy like De'Aaron Fox is a guy that you're giving pennies on the dollar to the Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings aren't going to accept pennies on the dollar. Now, there may be a player we talk about later on who may be getting pennies on the dollar in terms of the team he's on currently, maybe getting back pennies on the dollar. A guy like De'Aaron Fox, you are going to have to give a king's ransom. And do you need De'Aaron? Is it you want De'Aaron because he's going to help the team April, May, and June? It can't be because you don't have a star. Stars. I say you get shooting. You beef that team up through shooting. I don't know if another star is something that you need right now. You paid Franz. You've paid Suggs. You're going to pay Paolo. De'Aaron Fox, I'd pass on, at least right now. The confidence that you have with these guys, unquestioned. And it's going to be something that's going to help you down the line.